The chandelier cast warm light across the marble floors of my parents' estate as I adjusted my simple black dress. Dad's 60th birthday party was in full swing, with over 50 guests mingling in the grand ballroom. Crystal glasses clinked, laughter echoed off the high ceilings, and the string quartet played softly in the corner. I'd driven here in my old Honda Civic, parked between my brother's new BMW and my sister's Mercedes, trying to blend into the shadows like I always did at these events. "Isabella, there you are," my mother Patricia approached, her diamond necklace catching the light. She wore her signature Chanel dress, the one she'd bought specifically for tonight's celebration. "I was just telling the Hendersons about Marcus's promotion to senior partner at the law firm." I smiled politely, adjusting the simple pearl earrings I'd inherited from Grandma. "That's wonderful news. And Amanda just closed another $1 million real estate deal this week," she continued, not acknowledging my response. Her voice carried that tone of pride she reserved exclusively for my siblings. "She's truly following in your father's footsteps." The Henderson account alone brought in $200,000 in commission. My sister Amanda glided over in her designer gown, champagne flute in hand. The emerald green silk dress probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. "Oh, Isabella, you're here. How's what do you call it? The tutoring business?" "It's going well, thank you for asking." Marcus, my older brother, joined our circle with his wife Jennifer. His expensive watch glinted as he gestured with his drink. "Still teaching kids math for pocket change? When are you going to get a real job?" "You're almost 30, Isabella." "I enjoy what I do," I replied calmly, though inside I felt the familiar sting of their dismissal. "Enjoy doesn't pay the bills," Dad's voice boomed as he approached our group. Richard Morales, the successful real estate mogul, dressed in his finest tuxedo with gold cufflinks. "At your age you should be established. Look at your siblings. Marcus just bought that new house in Westfield Hills. Amanda's driving a brand new Mercedes. And you're still—" He gestured vaguely at my appearance, letting the sentence hang unfinished. I nodded quietly. They had no idea that while they thought I was struggling to make ends meet as a private tutor, I'd been building something extraordinary. For the past 5 years, I'd been developing revolutionary educational software through my company Pinnacle Learning Solutions. What started as simple tutoring sessions in my tiny apartment had evolved into AI-powered adaptive learning systems now used by school districts across 3 states. The irony wasn't lost on me. While my family measured success in expensive cars and designer clothes, I was quietly revolutionizing how children learned. My software had helped over 500,000 students improve their grades, and we'd just completed 3 major acquisitions that would expand our reach even further. "Isabella, come here," Mom called me over to where she stood with her book club friends near the marble fireplace. The women were all dressed impeccably, their jewelry sparkling under the chandelier. "Ladies, this is my youngest daughter. She's still trying to figure out her career path." Mrs. Wellington, dripping in pearls, smiled sympathetically. "Oh dear, it's never too late to go back to school. My nephew just finished his MBA at 35. Perhaps she could look into something more substantial." "That's very encouraging," I said softly, resisting the urge to mention that I already had my master's degree in computer science. "Maybe you could work for Marcus," suggested Mrs. Chin, her voice filled with pity. "I'm sure he could find you something entry-level at his firm. Filing, reception work, that sort of thing." Marcus laughed from across the room, having overheard. "I don't think Isabella has the qualifications for our type of work. We handle serious business mergers and acquisitions. Corporate law requires a certain level of sophistication." If only he knew that his firm had actually pitched to acquire one of my subsidiary companies last month. I'd quietly declined through my legal team, choosing instead to maintain my independence and continue growing organically. The evening continued with more of the same. Guest after guest was introduced to Marcus, the successful lawyer who'd just made partner, and Amanda, the rising real estate star who'd earned $500,000 in commissions this year. I was either ignored completely or described as still finding herself in whispered, sympathetic tones. "Poor Patricia," I overheard Mrs. Rodriguez saying to another woman near the bar. 2 out of 3 isn't bad, I suppose. At least Marcus and Amanda turned out well. During dinner, served on Mom's finest china with crystal glasses that caught the candlelight, I sat at the far end of the long mahogany table. The conversation flowed around me like I wasn't there. Business deals, vacation plans to Europe, private school decisions for grandchildren I barely knew existed. To my children who make me proud every day, Dad raised his glass during the toast, looking directly at Marcus and Amanda. Marcus, your partnership is a testament to your hard work and intelligence. Amanda, watching you build your real estate empire has been incredible. The omission wasn't lost on anyone. My glass remained untouched as the room applauded my siblings' achievements. After dinner, as the party moved to the living room for drinks and dessert, I found myself standing alone near the French doors leading to the garden. Through the glass, I could see the pool area where we used to have summer barbecues when I was young, back when my dreams of helping children learn were met with encouragement rather than dismissal. The isolation wasn't new, but tonight it felt particularly pronounced. Maybe it was turning 30 soon, or maybe it was seeing how effortlessly my siblings fit into this world of status and appearances. You know, Mom's voice startled me. I turned to see her approaching with Aunt Carol and my cousin Stephanie. All three women wore expressions of concern mixed with something else. Embarrassment, perhaps. What's that, Mom? She took a long sip of her wine, then looked me directly in the eyes. I've been thinking about something all evening and I need to be honest with you. I'm listening. I don't think you belong at family events anymore. The words hit like a physical blow, but I kept my expression neutral. I'm sorry. Look around, Isabella. Everyone here is successful, accomplished. They're doctors, lawyers, business owners. They drive nice cars, live in beautiful homes, wear designer clothes. She gestured dismissively at my simple dress. And then there's you. I felt heat rising in my cheeks but kept my voice steady. And then there's me. Still living in that tiny apartment above the bakery, driving that embarrassing car that's older than some of the children you teach, playing teacher to other people's children for $20 an hour. Aunt Carol nodded in agreement, her diamond bracelet catching the light as she gestured. It's awkward for the family, dear. When people ask about Patricia's children, we can talk about Marcus's legal career and Amanda's real estate success. But we honestly don't know what to say. We end up making excuses, Stephanie added with false sympathy. Or changing the subject. It's uncomfortable for everyone. You're bringing down the family image, Mom continued, her voice gaining confidence as she spoke. The Morales name means something in this city. Your father has built a reputation over 30 years. Marcus and Amanda are enhancing that legacy. And I'm not. I asked quietly. How could you be? You're a glorified babysitter who can't even afford a decent car. Mom's words cut deep, but I remained calm. Maybe it's better if you just gave us some space during important events. Family gatherings, holidays, celebrations like tonight. I felt the blood drain from my face but maintained my composure. I understand. Good, Mom said, relief evident in her voice. I'm glad you're being reasonable about this. It's better for everyone, really. Aunt Carol patted my arm condescendingly. You'll thank us later, dear. Sometimes tough love is what people need to finally get their act together. I quietly stood to leave, reaching for my small purse. I'll say goodbye to Dad and go. Oh, don't make a scene, Mom waved her hand dismissively. Just slip out quietly. He's busy with important guests anyway. The mayor's here and several city council members. These are the relationships that matter for our family's future. As I began walking toward the door, weaving between clusters of well-dressed guests discussing stock portfolios and vacation homes, the room's attention suddenly shifted to the large television mounted above the fireplace. Dad had turned up the volume for the evening news, something he always did during parties to catch the business report. Breaking news tonight, the anchor announced with that tone reserved for major stories. In a major development in the education technology sector, Pinnacle Learning Solutions has announced its acquisition of 3 competing educational software companies in a deal valued at $47 million. I froze mid-step, my hand tightening on my purse strap. The acquisition makes Pinnacle Learning Solutions the dominant force in AI-powered educational technology across the western United States, the reporter continued, her voice filling the suddenly quiet room. The company's innovative adaptive learning platforms have revolutionized how students learn mathematics and science, with remarkable improvements in test scores and student engagement. The room went silent except for the television. Even the string quartet had stopped playing. CEO Isabella Morales, despite being only 28 years old, has built her company from a small tutoring service into a multi-million-dollar educational technology empire in just 5 years. Mom's wine glass slipped from her fingers, shattering against the marble floor with a crash that echoed through the suddenly silent room. Red wine spread across the white marble like blood. We go now to our business correspondent for more details on this remarkable success story, the anchor continued, seemingly oblivious to the chaos she'd just caused in our living room. The camera cut to a business reporter standing outside a gleaming office building with the Pinnacle Learning Solutions logo prominently displayed. Thank you, Sarah. I'm here at Pinnacle Learning Solutions headquarters, where CEO Isabella Morales has just completed what industry experts are calling one of the most impressive acquisitions in the educational technology sector. Dad's face had gone completely pale. Marcus stood with his mouth open, champagne glass forgotten in his hand, its contents slowly warming. The $47 million deal, the reporter continued, brings Pinnacle's total valuation to an estimated $120 million, making Isabella Morales one of the youngest educational technology CEOs in the country. Amanda grabbed the back of a chair for support, her knuckles white against the dark wood. That can't be right. The company's AI-powered learning systems, the reporter explained, have been quietly adopted by over 300 school districts, helping over 500,000 students improve their academic performance. What started as individual tutoring has become a technological revolution in education. Uncle Robert, who had been telling jokes near the bar, stared at the screen in disbelief. Isabella Morales began developing her revolutionary software while working as a private tutor, the business correspondent continued. Industry sources say she's been approached by major education corporations for buyout offers exceeding $200 million, all of which she's declined. The camera showed footage of children using tablets in classrooms, their faces bright with engagement as they worked through math problems using software I'd spent years perfecting. Morales told our business team that she's committed to keeping Pinnacle Learning Solutions independent, focusing on student outcomes rather than maximizing profits, the reporter added. Her company has also established a scholarship fund that has provided over $10 million in educational grants to underprivileged students. The camera returned to the studio where the anchor shuffled her papers. An inspiring story of innovation and determination. Pinnacle Learning Solutions stock is expected to open significantly higher tomorrow morning following news of this acquisition. Mom slowly turned to look at me, her face a mixture of shock and horror. Isabella. I picked up my purse and walked calmly toward the door, my heels clicking against the marble with each measured step. I really should go. Early morning tomorrow. Wait, Dad's voice cracked as he spoke. Isabella, wait. I paused at the doorway, turning back to face the room full of stunned guests and family members. 50 pairs of eyes stared at me with expressions ranging from disbelief to embarrassment to something that might have been awe. The news is that, are you really? Marcus couldn't complete his sentence. The CEO of Pinnacle Learning Solutions? I finished for him. Yes, I am. Aunt Carol's hand flew to her mouth. But you said you were tutoring children. I am tutoring children, I replied calmly. 500,000 of them, actually. Just not in the traditional sense. Why didn't you tell us? Mom whispered, still staring at the broken glass at her feet. I looked around the room at all the faces that had dismissed me, ignored me, and ultimately told me I didn't belong. You never asked. Isabella, please. Dad stepped forward, his voice shaking. This is incredible. We had no idea. You had no idea because you assumed that what I was doing wasn't important, I said quietly. You saw tutoring and immediately dismissed it as failure. Jennifer, Marcus's wife, spoke up nervously. We didn't know you were building a company. I mentioned my software development several times over the past few years. You all assumed I was just making excuses for my lack of real success. Marcus ran his hand through his hair, messing up his perfectly styled appearance. Isabella, You what? I asked, my voice still calm but gaining strength. You didn't think education was important enough to be a real business? You thought helping children learn was somehow less valuable than your corporate mergers. The room remained silent. For 5 years I've been building something that actually matters, I continued. While you were focused on status symbols and prestige, I was creating technology that helps children learn better, faster, and with more confidence. I was solving real problems. Mom took a shaky step forward, careful to avoid the broken glass. Isabella, honey, we didn't mean to. You didn't mean to what, Mom? Dismiss my work? Tell me I don't belong at family events? Suggest I need to find a real job? Dad's voice was barely a whisper. We're proud of you. Are you? I asked. Or are you proud of the $47 million? Because 5 minutes ago, you were ashamed of me. The business report was still playing in the background, now showing footage of students using Pinnacle's learning software in classrooms across the country. Their excited faces as they mastered difficult concepts reminded me why I'd started this journey in the first place. I need to go, I said, turning toward the door again. Isabella, please don't leave like this, Amanda called out, her voice breaking. We can talk about this. I paused without turning around. There's nothing to talk about. You made your feelings very clear tonight. We didn't know, Mom pleaded, tears beginning to form in her eyes. You didn't know because you didn't care to know, I replied. You saw what you expected to see and treated me accordingly. I walked to the door, then turned back one final time. By the way, the reason I've been able to build this company is because I've been living simply and investing everything back into the business. That embarrassing car? It's paid for. That tiny apartment? I own the building. And those children I play teacher, too? They're going to change the world. With that, I walked out of the party, leaving behind a room full of people who finally understood what they had lost. As I drove away in my Honda Civic, my phone buzzed with dozens of missed calls and text messages from family members. I didn't answer any of them. Tomorrow, I had a board meeting to discuss our next acquisition. And unlike tonight, everyone in that room would know exactly who I was and what I'd accomplished. The difference was that they had believed in me from the beginning.